Say yes to new beginnings.
Yes.
Say yes to new standards of excellence.
Yes.
Say yes to engaging reportage with a difference.
Yes.
Introducing Yes International Magazine. The time to say yes to your dreams and aspirations is here.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Instagram Live session. My name, like I always say, has not changed. My name remains Azuh, Arinze, and my guest tonight is Mr. Lanre Idowu. Mr. Idowu is a respected veteran journalist and journalism regulator. The no-nonsense rights NGE, the CEO and editor of Diamond Publications Limited. Mr. Idowu is also the organizer of the DAME Awards. He read history and public communications at the University of Lagos. Solo. He has worked at the Daily Times, The Guardian, The Democrat Weekly, and the Week and This Week magazine. Friends, fans, followers, join me as I welcome tonight's Instagram live session, Mr. Lanre Idowu. Of course, we are going to be discussing everything.
Now, my first question is, who is a journalist and what makes a good journalist?
Well, I'll start by saying that anyone who makes a living from reporting, commenting, or even working in the design section of the media, someone who makes a living from the art of interviewing and reporting on things happening in society. Generally, yes, that's a journalist. What makes a good journalist, we said?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think the first thing is passion. You must have passion for it. You must have strong interest for it. You must also have an open mind because every day is a new experience. So if you have, if you read, you feel that you don't already know what is going to happen, then there's no point else to do. So you must have an open mind. You must have a strong shock absorber.
I like that.
To deal with a lot of funny things that will happen to you along the line. Because the journalist is a very good person. It's everybody use the journalist as a tool. So the journalist must understand that he or she will be used, and he or she is also in the business, also tapping different contacts. So it's a mutual thing. So don't get carried away with access to certain corridors on the strength of your job. Because the moment you're no longer there, the access will not be there. So it's not so about you, but it's about what you represent, the institution you work for, and the person you are in. Let's stop at that point.
Wow, interesting. Now, what is the commonest mistake a journalist can make?
The commonest mistake that
any journalist can make?
I think is to have an exaggerated opinion of ourselves. That's how we tend to, well, lately, we tend to feel that we are newsmakers of right. We tend to thrust ourselves forward. You have the journalists these days. I'm not very comfortable with that. I belong to people that it's your work that should be seen and less of yourself. You're not the newsmaker. You are the storyteller, and therefore you need some level of attachment, objectivity, your decision making. Where you are all over the place, it becomes difficult to now draw the line between what you are reporting and what you are.
Interesting. Now, what specifically, got you interested in journalism?
What got me interested in it?
Yes, what specifically? Yes.
A number of things. At home, growing up in the early 60s, it was common to find at home a room of 3 or 4 newspapers. And I remember then that one time there was Sketch. There was even Morning Post and maybe Express or so. So these were publications, and later Lagos Weekend. These were publications that I read at home. My father bought newspapers and he encouraged us to read. He encouraged us to discuss issues in the news. He encouraged us to answer questions. It's like a doing competition. He encouraged us to read things there and then maybe write essays on what we have. So I just found that it was down my alley to pick up a newspaper, and move into one corner of the room, and just try and digest it and understand whatever it contains. So from there, I began to have interest in specific writers, specific columnists. I began to feel that it's a good thing to. It's a good job to do. I've always wanted to be a writer. Journalism was just an outlet, an opportunity to do it on a more consistent, a more regular basis.
Interesting. Now, what was the title of the first story ever that you wrote?
Really, I can't remember that. That I wrote as a journalist?
Yes, as a reporter.
I think it was at times. I was working on a magazine called Spare Magazine, a monthly general times. Yes, I was saying that story centered on 2 principal characters, a shopper, spare part, and a security guard who got electrocuted and died because he didn't realize he touched the door with the spare part and he died. And so the family of the deceased felt that the compensation offered by the shop owner was inadequate, and there was going to be a breakdown of law and order. So I heard about it, I showed interest in it, and I was able to interview different parties involved. I also went to I don't remember the name of the police station now, but it was the main police station then. This was for short drive in Azuh. Okay. And incidentally, I now found out that the DCO was a classmate of mine in the university, Unilag. And then the DPO, I also met the DPO Tafa Balogun, who later became the IG of police. But innocently, I met them there, and I was able to get them to talk, and I was able to get a story written. And my editor was happy with me because it was a story that I developed on my own. It was not something assigned to me. So he felt that I should something. And he was happy and he encouraged me to do more.
Interesting. Now, who was your first interviewee?
I think, well, if we leave that story, if we leave that story we just talk about now, and we can talk more about short interview. I think it was the late Sir Adetokunbo Ademola, first indigenous of Nigeria, and who at the time was also chairman of the Population Commission that conducted the controversial census, I think in 1973, thereabout. Yes. That when I was going to interview him, my editor gave me some briefing, and he said, well, this man that we are going to interview, a big personality in the country, it's a big, so be careful with him. He's also someone who has a lot of friends in the Daily Times. And so I went there and I interviewed him. And at a point, the grand old man asked me to switch off my recorder. Which I did. So he told me something on background, off record. And I went back, I wrote my story. Along the way, I thought what I published, I thought I didn't reach our understanding, our agreement. But later I complained that I brought in something that he didn't say. And so that was a bit, it was an early lesson anyway. But we were able to manage just to say, look, there's no, just to do that. He said, I want you that this is a very important man. I'm not going to say stand by, I'll just say sorry, there was a misrepresentation, and that's what we did.
Wow, interesting. Now, as a reporter, who were you looking forward to interview? But at the end of the day, you ended up not being able to do the interview. Maybe one person that you really, really wanted to interview as a reporter, all through your career back then, you were unable to interview.
Maybe IBB.
Okay, so why IBB, sir?
No, I mean, you asked me, that's one person.
Who you really couldn't.
And the publications that I worked for when he was in office, we did a number of stories on him, especially when I was at This Week. But I did not have the opportunity of having a one-on-one interview with him. It just didn't happen. Not that we didn't try. He was a friend to our organization, but we had state house correspondents. We had about 2 or so, and it was like they got us the information that we needed at that time. So it just, that opportunity didn't happen for us. Let's say as audio editors interview him one-on-one. But I think most of the people that I needed to speak to, either on record or off record, I was able to.
Interesting. Now, I need you to tell us your most memorable interview. Of all the interviews you conducted during your active years, the most memorable and why?
It's very difficult to cite one interview, but let me just say, okay, maybe because of the personality involved. I think I interviewed Fela on 2 or 3 occasions. At the time that he was not media. I was working for a newspaper called The Democrat then. It was broadsheet. This was shortly after the death of the Second Republic.
Okay.
Because he was curious to see what Fela was like. And so when we met Fela, he wanted to know where we were from. He told the Democrat, I said, which one is that one? I don't know that one. So luckily I had conversations with him, showed him. His son was there. That one was excited that it was a brush. So Fela said, well, look, he's very unhappy with journalists, that when he had his problems, when he had his issues, the journalists were not strong enough to speak the truth. He's been carrying his can on his own, that he didn't need anybody. It was not in such faith. It was very famous. He didn't need us to write anything. So I was very patient with him. My friend, who was and still remains a great fan of Fela's music, was very annoyed, saying, what's wrong with this man? We're trying to do a story of and see the way it's packing, you know, that it was very good. And he told me aside that if it had been him, he would have left, he would have called the exercise for. But I was very patient. Everything he said, I was just looking at it. He will say 5 things, I will say 1 thing. He will say 3 things, I will keep quiet. He will say 2 things, I will say 1. So I wore him out. My patience wore him out. And he said, okay, oh yeah, Mr. Reporter, ask your question. So, and then we started. And then the paper I was working for then was Northern Home, quite conservative. So writing about Fela there was something they were hot about. But I was able to put it off.
Like a taboo.
From that, I ran 3 stories week after week. I wrote about the Kuti brothers, 3 of a kind. So I spoke about Professor Liko Yeran's Kuti, I spoke about Fela Kuti and Dr. Beko and Kuti. Then I interviewed Star. Then I wrote a story. This is the house that Fela built, something like that. In Solar Street. It was built in that house then. And then it was more or less, it was not in the news. Those who knew. It was not common knowledge. But I was the one who published that. I don't remember the 3rd story, but okay, the 3rd story was baritone saxophonist. I was able to establish I think in the local government there. So my bosses at Democrat then from Kaduna, they now began to have a different idea of who Fela was. The stories corrected the popular impression that they held of him as just a noise maker and somebody youth. So yes, I remember
the Fela interview. All right, interesting.